Good to see you.
I wanted to ask you about Matt Bailey and Miles Scott. Feels like we don't ask enough about those guys who've been stalwarts for you. Matt obviously took a huge leap last year. Miles has been consistent. What do they bring individually to your back end, and how important are they for what you do?
I think something that people don't talk about enough, is just experience. Like experience is the best teacher. Those guys have been through, obviously in my rise as a coordinator. Those guys have been with me every step of the way, right? And I'll even throw Mac Mercedes in there, right? Like they just add a level of experience that you can't buy. You know what I mean? Like they played a lot of football here. They've been through some trials and tribulations, which is always good when you talk about handling adversity. And things may not go initially right. They know how to fix things. They know how I think. Coach B always says, when your players can start finishing your sentences for you, you got a pretty special group. And those three cats, I mean, they can literally finish the words that are coming out of my mouth. They know exactly what I want. They know the expectation of the room, and I think those guys were able to see guys before them. And I mean that's probably our best tool here. Guys before them kind of put in the work, and they were able to learn from some older guys, and they're just following the brotherhood. They're just following what we expect and how we do things, and I'm really excited about those dudes going into the season.
Along those lines, how do you handle someone like Mac who has clearly shown he has played well enough to play games, but you have Matt and you have Miles? How do you sort through that?
To that point, right? You try to make sure he's constantly ready, and then you try to implement him in packages, whether it's third down packages or early down packages. But it's always coach always talks about using your personnel and maximizing your personnel. You always want to get the players who you think can help you, or your players that play the best opportunity to get on the field. And I mean, all three of those guys, they're going to have ample opportunity throughout the course of the season to get on the field for us. And so, um, I mean, from that position to the guys up front to the guys at linebacker to the guys in secondary, we got a lot of different battles going on, which I'm like super excited about. This is probably just across the board, probably the deepest that we've been. From guy who you guys may consider as a starter to guys behind him. We got some really good matchups going in the fall camp, which I'm really excited about, and may the best man win.
Does that expedite the process of install and what you're trying to do early on with having so many guys back and having so many veterans that understand what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, it does because you're no longer spoon feeding them. I think about it this way, right? Like yesterday, I celebrated my girl's second birthday. They turned 2 years old. Well, I can remember when they were first born. Right, you feed them a little different when they're first born. Right, we got a text yesterday during the day, during the lunch break that Harlow and Dakota had got their third round of lunch. So they eating like some adults, right? You know what I mean? And I say that because when you're first kind of putting something in and you're first running something, you kind of got to spoon feed it to them. It's new. There's a learning curve. Well, when guys have been running those things, now you can really feast, right? Because they know exactly the expectations. They know exactly what you want. They know exactly what you're looking for, and now you can put more on them. I mean, at the end of the day, right? My goal is to make sure that we can play fast, but there are things that they're going to be able to handle, and I'm going to stress them, especially throughout the camp, to just challenge them mentally. Like I think more than anything, this game is about straining. We were very fortunate enough last year to just train longer than some teams, and that's what this camp's about.
What's important for you in your third season as coordinator, or going into your third season?
Yeah, I think it's right. Like at the end of the day, you want to play great defense. At the end of the day, you want to give the offense ample opportunity to score points. You want to be able to get them the ball. You want to take the ball away, but you only can control what you do on your side of the ball. And at the end, I just want to play great defense. I want guys flying around. I want guys having fun. And obviously going into year three, like you would hope, the goal is always to make the year that much better than the previous year. And so like I have no, I guess, personal expectations, but I will say this: our goal is to be better, way better than we were last year. And I think with all the guys that we have returning, we have the ability to do that. And so, just play better. Just obviously you would love to win more games, right? Obviously, games are going to be all the really good teams we're playing. Games are Games could potentially be tighter, and so you just try to prepare those guys for those moments. And when your defense has an opportunity, right, you really wanna rise to that and take advantage of it.
What does way better than last year look like? Or is there something you're like looking to see growth in?
Well, like way better in my opinion is right. If we had 28 sacks, let's try to have 40. Right? If we had 20 takeaways, let's try to have 30. And so like in categories where I felt like we could take a game over instead of allowing the team to linger around, like let's put them out. There were a couple of games where we played a good first half and we didn't play that well in the second half, or we played well in the second half and we didn't play that well in the first half. Like being a complete unit, a complete team, like when you step on that field, it is all business, right? Like the game isn't over until we're back in the locker room, right? When we're back in the locker room and it's 4 zeros on that clock, right? Like we got to learn as a team, right? Especially on defense, to when you have a chance to put teams away, putting them away, And I think we learned a lot coming off the heels of last year. And then I'm sure there'll be some close games, right? And we go through a lot of situational football here, which I'm really thankful for, to allow our guys to grow in those moments.
Coach, what are some expectations up front? Is quite back end in the second tier? You got a lot of guys coming back, but is there kind of a rebuild up front? What have you seen from that group?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of experience, right? Whether it's guys transferring in or guys getting their feet wet last year. I think, at the end of the day, right, and coaches hit on this several times. Like, you talk about running a program, you talk about playing great ball offensively and defensively. It starts up front, and so there's a lot of pressure, whether this was Coach B's first year or his fifth year, right? Every team that he's had, right, it starts up front, and we're no different than those previous teams, right? Like your program, it starts up front, and so we put a lot of pressure on those guys in spring ball and off season. Like we know, right, in order to be a good football team, we got to stop the run, right? Obviously, you want to limit explosives on the back end, but like teams, really good teams that can run the football really, really well, especially down the stretch, they have a chance to beat you. And so it's our job up front to make sure we can take care of that with some of the guys that we have. Obviously, we got some really good players, got a bunch of really good guys, bunch of really good matchups, especially going into fall camp that we're super excited about. But like at the end of you want to be able to win, right? And I'm not talking about 49-50 win, right? You want to be able to like put your stamp on it especially as a guy up front that you control the game.
Any specific guys up front jump out to you in the spring?
Yeah, I mean, I think about Pat Farrell. I think about obviously James, Kurt, right? Gabe obviously speaks, but it's a plethora of guys, right? Whether they transfer in, Angelo McCullum, or they've been here, right? Like that have done some really, really good things for us. And it's a new year always brings on new opportunity, and there's going to be things throughout the course of this camp and this season that maybe it was a guy that you guys probably slept on a little bit that's kind of becoming a little bit of a star. And so I'm just excited about the unit as a whole, to be completely transparent with you.
And you guys got into a lot of sub packages late last season.
Yeah.
What did you like about the looks that gave you, and how repeatable is that this season?
Yeah, it's again, like Coach always talks about maximizing your roster, and it's different guys bring different value. And I think it's my job and our job as coaches to maximize their strengths, and I think the beauty about that is that even going into the South Carolina game, we had some players that we felt like played a little better in space, and so they had certain packages where they were a little more in space as opposed to being on the line of scrimmage. And is there flexibility in that? For sure, right? And I think with the roster that we've developed here, right, we have a plethora of guys that bring value in different capacities, right? Like, I mean, just from the back end to the front end. Will you see us in some unique sub packages? For sure, right? Just because I think we have the players too, and so I guess with that being said, like just always trying to, whether it's third down, whether it's first or second down, just always trying to maximize our players' potential, right, and their ability, right, especially as we get later on into the season.
And when we got X in Vegas, he talked about one of the first meetings last year was you standing up in front of the entire defense and going, guys, I wasn't very good in 23. He was surprised to see you do that. Just what made you want to be that honest with your guys, and how did you feel like that helped the buy-in for what happened?
Well, I think if anybody knows me, I mean, you guys know I'm pretty transparent, right, about how I grew up, about where I'm from, about the steps that I needed to take. Yeah, I can remember last year giving up 49 points, and I literally came to you guys and like that was my fault. You know what I mean? So like I've always operated in that manner, and I think it's good for players to hear that because oftentimes they think it's just about them, and to a degree it is, right? But as coaches, we take ownership as well, and I'm just as good as the players that I coach, and vice versa, right? If I make a call that I deem to be not good, looking back at it, no matter how it's executed, right? It can have all the guys in the right spot, right? Like it really doesn't matter if that call wasn't warranted after studying the film, and I just know I made a bad call. And so I just think it's a level of accountability in this profession that you have to take, and you have to be transparent with your players. And I think when you do that, they know and they understand and they grow in that process. Like, okay, well, coach mess up too, and he's accountable. Well, when we mess up, we got to be accountable, and like let's just protect each other and roll from there. And so I think when I started the meeting off with that, by no means was I trying to, I guess like talk down on myself. I was more so just trying to be real and transparent. I think we live in a society now that's fabricated by everything has to look good and be good, and I don't operate in that factor, in that notion. Like I'm a real dude. I can be transparent when I make mistakes or when I think something isn't good enough. You know what I mean? And I always try to relay that to our guys. I'm still learning how to do that in my marriage. That's something I'm learning. But you with time, right? I've been a coach a lot longer than I have been married. But with time, you just learn how to grow in those aspects of areas that you need growth in.
Do your assistants learn from that too? I mean, are they okay telling you, "Hey, I messed up," because they know that you'll admit it when you do?
Yeah. I think we got some really transparent guys in the room, which that's what I love about our staff, and they all know like I'm very, very forthcoming. We have really close relationships, which allows those guys to step out and say those kind of things. But it starts with our staff and just the relationships that we have. I've been a part of staffs that you may not be as close, and so guys may not feel the want or the need to step out there and say things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to always protect my staff, or our staff. I'm going to always protect my players, right? No matter what happens this season, I can guarantee you guys, I am going to bear the blame and I'm going to deliver all the praise. That's just how I operate, man. I got 9 sisters, so I've always been a natural protector. And at the end of the day, right, like Illinois historically has been known to have some really good defenses and some really good players within the frameworks of those defenses that like capitalized on being a part of those special defenses. So like we just want to continue to live up to that standard and represent that eye everywhere we go, especially on the field.
Aaron,
Coach, you talk about the history of the defenses here at Illinois, but what do you want the brand of this Illinois defense this season to be?
It's funny you say that. I think I introduced you guys to our pillars last year, and that's something that I'm hanging on to in regards to what I want people to know us for. Right, that first pillar is passion. Right, when we hit the field on Saturday, on Friday, whatever the day is, I want people to be able to watch us on TV or live and say those guys are passionate about what they do and how they play. Right, the second pillar is toughness. Right, it's toughness. I want them to be tough everywhere that they go. Right, and not just physically tough, but mentally tough, because that's the lost art in today's society. Right, you got some physically tough people, but as soon as it gets hard, right, they break down. And coach would say that, and coach would probably use the word strain in that regard. Learning how to strain. The third one is integrity. This is a hard one, because integrity is doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, when it's supposed to be done. Right, when nobody else is looking and nobody else expects it. Right, obviously having integrity in a relationship, and obviously having integrity on 4th and 1 or 3rd and 5 when the game's on the line. Right, like you gotta be able to do those things. 4th one is selfless. Like I think now, right, we got some players that's getting paid some really good money, more than more than some of their parents have ever made. Right, and instead of checking the next man's pocket, are you going to be selfless enough, right, to fight on that double team for the back and behind you? Are you going to be selfless enough, right, to play on special teams? Are you going to be selfless enough, right? To whether it's blitzing a certain path, right, or getting doubled, right, to do your job, or you're gonna be a me guy, because that's what every time they pick up their phone, like that's all they're seeing when they leave this place. And the last one is effort, right, and specifically perfect effort, right, going to the ball or whatever it is in life that you're doing 100 miles an hour, right, and every single day, right. What I'm telling our defense is to fight for those pillars, because the reason why is because as soon as they leave this building, they have to, because the world is telling them the complete opposite, right? Be selfish instead of selfless, right? Worry about get your stats. Worry about you. So when people watch us play ball, I want them, in the words of Jay Lehman, to see a pack of hyenas, right? A pack of hyenas flying around, right, displaying those pillars. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys.